back to the ministry. This is almost a part 2 to the word that I did on the exaltation. Not the exaltation, but the fact that you are spiritually in a place that your God ordained spouse is physically. The Lord wanted me to address something with this. In your spiritual state that you are in, as you have been in stance to cover this man, your spiritual walk has allotted for a shift in this individual's life. So because of that, God has had you in that posture, had you in that state of consecration, had you in that state of covering this individual, okay? And for those that have been in this place, you understand that there's a level of spiritual height that the Lord will take you into as you sit in his presence, and he will show you things. He will give you understanding about things. He may not tell you blow by blow what your God ordained spouse is going through, but he may in return have you experience some things. I was listening to Trust and Obedience Ministries the other day, and she was making the point of saying that sometimes you will go through an experience and wonder why you're going through it, and it's one of the scenarios is the Lord is putting you through the exact test that he put your God ordained spouse through, or something that they've gone through that he needs you to feel so that you will pray for them in that particular arena or area, because he needs you to feel what they felt. Yeah, it's kind of been like, oh, you couldn't have just told me that. You did. I had to go through what they felt. Some of us feel that way. It's like, you could have just told me that. I would have prayed. But he will allow that element to occur because, in a way, I'm seeing water. You know how they say water rises to its own level? You, as the wife, are standing in the gap for this individual. They are not at the same spiritual place that you are, but we've all heard the scripture that a wife will sanctify her unbelieving husband. As you have stood, as you have prayed, as you have consecrated, as you have fasted, as you have stood in prayer, as you have worshiped, as you have done all of these things, as God showed you what this individual was going through, you, because you are aligned with this individual, it's not that it's a scenario that you're spiritually up here and they're spiritually down here. As you stand in the gap for this individual, it's like water rising to its own level. The Lord is lifting them in the spirit to your level, but you're the bridge that's bringing them up. A lot of you have come to a place where you are frustrated with the fact, like, why is it that this person isn't praying for themselves? Why is it this person isn't reading the word like they should? Why is it that I got to always constantly be in a level of warfare in relation to something that has nothing to do with me, and it's to make you frustrated so you'll stop praying. It's not that you so much, you love this individual, you will pray for them anyway. Some of you got people around you pray for all the time. It frustrates you with this individual because I guess it's the fact, I'm going to be honest with you. I think it's the fact that for the ones that you pray for that are around you all the time, you know they ain't saved. You know they ain't this. So you like, I don't expect nothing from you. But you expect for the one that's supposed to be walking with God, that God's saying is the one for you, that God is what have you. Why is it seemingly so hard for me to get this particular person to where they need to be spiritually in the level at which they belong? What's the resistance? What's the issue? What's the problem in this state, this place, this element? Why is it so hard? I thought because of the fact that you feel like if I'm connected to this person and we supposed to be equally yoked, I didn't know I was bringing them up to that level. But what you are is you are actually bringing them up to that level. You are shifting them into that level. The fact of the matter is, the people that don't believe and that you be praying for fervently, it's hitting them. The prayers you praying hitting them. That's why they irritated a lot. But the ones that they way down here that you're standing for in your relationship wise, it's hitting them too. But what's happening is they're not fighting as hard as the ones that you praying for that ain't walking with God. So it actually is helping, and the enemy actually hates that, so the enemy will throw more dirt on top of them. Because it's like, hey, they actually are lifting up in the spirit realm. They actually are spiritually rising. They actually are. But I heard something a minister said many years ago, that the more dirt that is thrown on top of you, it's like a goat that's thrown in a hole. Keep throwing dirt on top of it. It's going to compact that dirt down, and you keep throwing it and keep throwing it and you keep throwing it on them. What's going to happen is going to lift them up. It's going to raise them up. It's going to exalt them. So the more dirt you throw on them is actually lifting them. You ever heard a person say, let me get the word right. You ever heard anybody say that it was done for their good? Meaning, what the enemy meant for evil was done for your good. What the enemy meant to do to this individual was not being done. Why? Because when the enemy desired to throw dirt on them, God said pray, God said fast, God said consecrate on their behalf. As you prayed, as you fasted, as you consecrated on this individual's behalf, they actually were being lifted. But what the enemy was doing was throwing dirt on them. The enemy was sitting there like, I gotta suppress this person as back down as much as I possibly can. Let me pack them back down again, because I see they're lifting. And it's not from their own doing, it's from you. And then you're wondering why God's saying, keep praying, it's working. Keep praying, it's working. Keep praying, it's working. What God showed me I had a dream about my God-ordained spouse once. And what happened was, God was preparing the exaltation of me to this next position. And what he showed me is, he showed me where they were, and he showed me trying to get out of this restaurant. And I'm like, why am I in this restaurant? And I'm trying to find the exit door, but funny enough, I was trying to find the exit door without running into this individual. And the exit door, when I finally maneuvered to the right place to get to the exit, I found that I was standing on a staircase. The staircase, like some restaurants, when it's got a set of cement steps that's anywhere from 5 to 7 steps down. Well, because of the 5 to 7 steps, from where I came out at, I saw my God-ordained spouse, and he was still on the ground level. Meaning, if I came down the steps, I would have been at his feet, or standing at the same level that he was on. But I'm standing on the platform of having come out of the door, and he's below me, which means he was at my waist height. Now, the man is tall. I'm gonna give you that. He's tall. So for him to be at my waist, he's below me. But that's because I'm standing 6 steps above him. 6 or 7 steps above him. And that in itself can mean something. Your God-ordained spouse is not in the same spiritual place that you are, but he's learning. Just like when God first met you where you were, you had to learn and unlearn all of the beliefs, the belief systems, the situations. You remember how many times you got attacked when you first came out of the world? The closest people to you attacked you viciously, and you was sitting there like, well, why are you attacking me? But then you'd go into isolation with God, and you'd sit and you'd read your word or listen to the word or what have you, and you would learn, and you'd go through your testings, and then you learned how to start consecrating your flesh before the Lord. And it's almost like it got worse when you decided to do that, but you had to walk through that process. All it is this individual who may have stepped away from God for a season, learning those practices, and you have to allow them the pacing and the time, but you must cover them in the midst of that experience while the Lord is rising them, because what? Water comes up to its own level. God connected you with this individual for a reason. So because he connected you with this individual for a reason, guess what? He's going to rise up to the level that you are spiritually. It may not look the same way that it looks to you. It may not be the same as yours is, but he's going to give this man a command spiritually. He's going to have a spiritual ranking. And you're going to go through that experience that it is going to get easier. But right now, he's got to humble them. He's got to deal with those issues. He's got to show those elements. He's got to give them wisdom. He's got to do all of this kind of stuff. And they're going to go through a level. They're going to go through a level of experiences that's going to them, it looks like everybody rejected and beaten up on them. And it's one of those scenarios for some of these individuals. And I'll never forget, Dr. Jolyn Whitaker made the point of saying, it's like David was a people pleaser. David wanted to be in with the in crowd. David wanted that. He wanted to hang out. He wanted to do this type of thing. Even if you look at what Solomon did. It's an element of, for them, it can be jarring to be rejected like that. But you know something? I learned when it came down to rejection, the first thing that happens whenever somebody rejects me, and this is a lesson that you can take with you to the grave, okay? Listen to what they say. Don't interact. Listen. Because 9 times out of 10, they will express what their true problem is. And I'm not talking about their problem with you. That's projection. Plain and simple. Easy. But listen to what they're saying. Because if you listen to them long enough, you'll start to hear what their actual problem is. Whether it's that they're dealing with a spirit of offense, pride, a spirit of rejection, a spirit of, what is the word, Lord? It's not vanity. It's, I could open a note because it's a note that I got on my screen, but I don't want to risk kicking myself out of this broadcast to open it. But it's a series of things, and it all is a level of projection. When you start to recognize and discern what's being thrown at you, if you sit long enough, and my coach said this on her Instagram the other day, and I usually don't read her Instagram like this. But when I saw this, it made a lot of sense. She was making the point that when you when you ignore something, or not so much ignore it, but you do not feed into it. A lot of us, and if you have not noticed me bringing this up in just about everything that I've been saying, there is a spirit of sabotage, a desire to ruin reputation, a desire to have you be offended or to defend yourself. It's a desire that the enemy has. It wants to trap you in that. You don't have to address that. And what my coach was saying was that in that, if you starve that person's desire or individual's desire, this has happened to me over and over and over and over and over and over and over. When you come into the recognition that this person is trying to goad you. I've had roommates do this. I've had friends do this. People I thought was friends do this. I've had people come at me wrong. That's the spirit of rejection. And what it is once you identify, oh, this person is offended. This person is dealing with rejection. This person is dealing, you can actually list out all of the things. When you focus on that and not what the person is saying, meaning allowing their darts towards you to hit you, you can starve it. Because people that operate in this kind of spirit have a tendency to want you to defend yourself. But when you starve it and don't, when you sit and you listen, when you sit and you just allow them to talk, you'll hear what their issue is. That's actually psychology 101. The number one thing that I have learned when dealing with people, if you sit long enough and just listen to them, they will literally show you their heart posture. Just listen. I remember one time I was at the McDonald's. It was Christmas Eve or something. It was either Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve or something like that. And it was me and a group of people from church. And a man was trying to evangelize to this woman that was with us, that had come to breakfast with us. And she was not trying to hear about God that day. And he wasn't listening to her. But what I was hearing when she talked is she said, oh, my mom used to go to church. But my mom passed away on Sunday. And she died of this. So it was one of those scenarios. I came to the immediate conclusion, oh, the reason that you don't like church is because of the fact that your mother, who was a devout Christian, died on a Sunday, and she went through illness, so you're wondering why God allowed that to happen, so you turned away from God. Listen to people. If you listen and start to key into those types of things, you'll hear what their issue is. You'll understand what it is. People that operate in accusatory offense spirits have a tendency to attack people that are not operating in that spirit. Why? Because of the fact that they understand that you can discern their spirit, and what they want is for you to jump into the fry with them. They want you to jump into argument with them. They want you to jump into conversation, confusion, whatever it is that they're dealing. They want you to jump in. Jump in this with me. Why? Because in all actuality, it's a spirit of narcissism that if you jump in because they're trying to goad you into that type of conversation, what ends up happening, and it's not the person, it's the spirit behind them. Understand, it's never really the person. It's usually something that was rooted in them that needs to be uprooted. And when you recognize that, a lot of times I could call those things out immediately. I usually just don't, because I learned from one of the ministers I follow literally that she had the opportunity, that a person was attacking her very viciously in the comments one time, and she had the opportunity where she sat there and she was like, I could rip this person apart, or I could just leave it alone. And she chose to maturely leave it alone. So it's the element when people are attacking you, don't address it. See through it to what it is that is the real issue. Then you go pray for them. That's it. It will save you the feeling of the emotion of being pulled down in your spirit. It's not to say that the initial dart coming at you isn't going to hurt. It does momentarily. But I have started praying this prayer, deliver me from people's opinions. And I find that that is a beautiful prayer to pray, because I notice that I've stopped paying attention to what people say anymore, and I start paying attention to the spirit operating behind it. When you start paying attention to the spirit operating behind it, you will literally offend that spirit, because it needs you to feed into it. Don't. I wasn't even planning on talking about that today. But I felt like somebody, whoever's dealing with a spirit of rejection, that's what you need to understand. Don't feed into it. Dissect. What are the spirits that are behind that? Is it offense? Is it twisting of words? Is it this? Is it that? Is it the fact that they're operating under narcissism? Is it the fact that it's offense? Is it the fact that it's this? Is it the fact that it's this? Is it the fact that it's... Once you start, you won't even remember what they said to you, because you'll be like, oh, that's what they're dealing with. Then take them into prayer. That's it. So I'm not going to extend this any further. That was all I really needed to say. So I hope that blessed you. Stand for your God-ordained spouse, because as you spiritually stand for them, you're bringing them up. They are going to come spiritually float up to your level. For what God has put together, no man put asunder. It'll come together. It may say some time, but the spiritual wisdom in which you have will enlighten them, and it will help them get to where you are. It's going to take some time, just like it took time for you. It may not take as long, but you got to allow them the balance. So I hope this blessed you. So until next time, much love, faith, peace, and blessings to you. Bye-bye.